That was really a beginning, and that will be an end. Yeah, that was really a beginning, and that will be an end. So speak up to Jesus, and he shall deliver you.
All right, folks, just to say that you are not forgotten or left out. You're waiting for an on-site folks to return. So let's be patient while just relax and wait. It can be a lot for us joining online. So thank you for your patience, and we get back soon.
Okay, so welcome back from the snack break. We're going to have a workshop, yes, basically talking about digital literacy and advocacy, the challenges and opportunities. And the moderator is Keja Osei. And then we have speakers to help us do this. The first one is Eunice Ofebia Manteo. I'll read her brief profile. So Eunice is a young professional with experience working with various nonprofit agencies such as the UN Migration Agency and the Center for Democratic Development, Ghana. She holds a BA in Political Science and French from the University of Ghana and an MA in International Development from University Lava, it's in Canada. She's a Young African Leaders Initiative alumni and a past delegate of Young Diplomats of Ghana. She's an advocate for the UN SDGs and has actively participated and volunteered in several youth development and literacy initiatives, specifically in Ghana and Canada. Please, let's give her a round of applause. She's joining online. And then we have Joshua Yayi. So Joshua is a fellow of both the Ghana and West African Schools on Internet Governance. He actively works to advance digital rights and internet governance for youth at the local, regional, and global levels. Joshua has been recognized for his expertise in climate change and internet governance, having spoken on both topics at the African and South Asian regional dialogues, as well as during the Internet Governance Forum in 2022. Please, let's give him a round of applause. And then we have Mariam Jobi, who is joining us from Gambia. So she is a Programs and Engagements Manager of Give One Project Gambia. Mariam is an exponent for digital rights and internet governance. Through her efforts, she has made a significant impact on promoting internet safety and literacy in the Gambia. She co-hosted a month-long radio program to educate the public, organize the country's first digital rights forum, and through her organization, collaborated with similar groups to submit the Gambia's UPR on digital rights in 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mariam. She's joining us online. Okay, so we can start.
Thank you, our able MC, for such an excellent presentation. Welcome from our break, distinguished participants. It promises to be an insightful conversation. We are going to talk about digital literacy, the opportunities and challenges. I know you all have a lot of questions to ask. We are seek to ventilate the issues, seek to advance all of them, get the needed answers from the youth perspective. So we hope to hear from you. We hope to hear from our able panelists. So don't keep the questions to yourself. It promises to be an interactive. So my name once again is Osei Keja, and I'll be leading the discussion. I'll straight away go to my friend. I'd like to know, as I always start with these conversations, from the keynote speaker to our distinguished panelists who we had for the plenary session, they all articulated briefly how there is that gap in terms of collaboration. There is no synergy, and also they also pointed out the lack of desire, drive, and all. But I sit here, and as someone said, people do learn this. There's a drive, but to what end? Right. So I would like to know the state of the Ghana when talk of digital literacy in Ghana. What can be done? I know I'm starting from somewhere, but what do you think can be done? Because Charlie, boys are fed up. What can be done?
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Digital literacy, I think it's, well, we can say it's doing very well. Everybody over here, right, knows something about a digital device and knows how to use it. Now, the question then becomes, how do you use it? One, to improve your life. Two, how do you use that digital technology to improve the life of everyone around you? And we can stretch it to the country, to the region, globally, right? So then it becomes a question of meaningful accessibility, right? And that leads to what literacy can be used for. So digital literacy basically is about knowing how to use digital devices in a digital age to the benefit of everyone in the world. And now our slogan everywhere you go is what? Leaving no one behind. I would say on the basics, like the panelists said, on the basic, we seem to be doing quite well. But the issue of equity comes in. So let me use this so that you people understand. So we talk about being there for persons with disabilities. So we have a washroom, and then we build a ramp to the washroom. So the one who has a disability is able to access the washroom. But are they able to meaningfully access the washroom? What do you go and do in the washroom? You do your business in the washroom, is that not? Now they get to the washroom, there are no racks to hold on to. So how do you expect them to fulfill their business in the washroom? So you've provided access to a point, but you have not provided meaningful access, right? And so this is what I see the state of digital literacy to be. We know a lot, or should I say we know little things about a lot of things, but we don't know how to combine them. So, you know, a lot of young people know how to use Snapchat, how to use Facebook and everything. But for any small question, they come asking you, Sir Joshua, please, what is XYZ? Right? And if someone knows how to use all these social media, but does not know that you can Google anything and find answers to them, and we have a problem, because they are consumers instead of learners or people who are learning to upgrade their life. So that is the state of digital literacy. We know how to consume, but we don't know how to use it productively to get on the next stage. And I think one way to solve it is deliberately, right? Deliberately including it in what we do. And as an example, I am a programs director for Love Aid Foundation. And Love Aid Foundation is implementing a 3-year project as part of a consortium. So the lead organization, Node 8, with Love Aid, a consortium member, and then we have the whole municipal assembly, and then the GES municipal also as a 3rd and 4th consortium members. And we are implementing a citywide project in Ho. Part of the component of this project has to do with digital literacy, cyber hygiene, because you can't really say you are educating, you are training, you are turning the life of young people around today and not include a digital component in that project that you are having. So it has to do with we being deliberate about it, including it in all our activities, because everything now that we do has a digital component.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for a forward-looking presentation on that. I would like to go to the Zoom and speak to Eunice. Eunice is joining us from Canada. She's a young Ghanaian and has worked in areas of development in terms of digital literacy. I would like to know, in terms of marginalized communities, you know, in all this conversation, marginalized communities and people living with disabilities, when you talk of digital literacy, there seems to be excluded. There's that kind of gap. And what she working in that, she has worked around that area. How do we link to that, to the SDGs? And what are some of the opportunities we can, as youth, what can we do? So, and the challenges too. So Mariam, I know it's quite expansive. The question is quite expansive, but if you can highlight or throw more light on that for us. If Zoom.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Ija. Good morning from my end and good afternoon back in Ghana. I've been following the discussions and I really believe that this is a very interesting topic. As we all know, we've already highlighted some of the challenges and barriers to digital literacy, and I'm not going to spend so much time on it. But I just want to lay emphasis on the accessibility to technology in the rural areas, especially the infrastructure and connectivity. And I'm going to give a good example. In 2020, I was working with the Center for Democratic Development, and we were working around the elections, and we were collating data from these rural areas, rural constituencies. And one of the major challenges we found was that we had to use SMS to collate these data because obviously in some of these areas, connectivity is a problem. And even with the SMS, so in some places in the front plain regions, you have to cross rivers and it's very difficult to get network connectivity in there. So if your observer is in there, he has to cross back to mainland before he can get network to give you information back in Accra and all that. So there's a huge gap, especially in the marginalized areas where one, network connectivity is still unevenly distributed. Access to technology, the kind of technological devices that a lot of people in the urban areas are privy to, do not exist in most of these rural areas. Affordability is also a whole different discussion altogether. Then the digital skill gap. This is something that is very huge. And I'm not even going to stress just on even rural marginalized areas. I'm even going to talk about, even in the context of urban areas, there's still a huge gap when it comes to digital skills. And, when we talk about the SDG goals, one of the major goals is SDG goal 5, which is education. And when we are talking about digital skills, we are looking at how to educate people to develop skills in terms of technological know-how. And you find that previous speakers were talking about how we are used to learning about what a mouse is, the hardcore components of a computer, and etc. But then when it comes to the softwares that we use, so for instance, Microsoft Office, which is a very popular software that most of us use, Word, Excel, but then we can all agree that we underutilize it, especially when it comes to Excel. The number of things Excel can do, PowerPoint presentations, even Microsoft Word itself, we are just used to the basics of it. So there's a huge digital skill gap, even for those of us living in urban areas. So how much more those in marginalized areas who do not even have access to all these digital devices and softwares and all that. Then also, of course, we can also talk about the gender disparity when it comes to digital skills. In addressing these challenges and barriers that we've identified today, one of the major recommendations that one of the previous speakers gave in the first session, he talked about government stepping in, and it's very important that we have collaborations with both the private sector and the government institutions. So we have MTN, Stambik doing these incubator labs and all that. Today we have digital libraries which are around in Accra. And so there needs to be stronger stakeholder collaborations, where government entities, educational institutions, NGOs, private sector organizations, communities are collaborating to pool resources. Expertise and experts should come on board, build infrastructure where young people can get to develop these digital skills. And also, young people also need to be interested in these things. We're talking about how to get the interest of young people. It's not just about, social media. It's good. Social media is a great platform, but then going beyond social media and exploring other technological softwares and tools and how they can better our society and better ourselves as well. And making sure that the underprivileged or the marginalized or minority in our society also have access to these things. And it's in partnership that we can bridge this gap when government, because we always say that everything is on government, but government can't do everything. So partnerships with various stakeholders need to be built where everybody gets on board so we can reach every corner of Ghana and every young person can also contribute their quota to developing, the country that we all live in and want to see. So these are just a few I can add to this question that you asked, Keja. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eunice, for that forward-looking presentation on that snapshot analysis. Very insightful. I'll move on to Mariam. Mariam is joining us from the Gambia, and I would like to know how the state of digital literacy is. She has also worked within the sub-region and work on all those things, the digital literacy, snapshot analysis of all of that, and what strategies can we young people develop? Or say what strategies must those stakeholders involved must they develop in addressing this situation?
Yes. First of all, good afternoon. I'm coming from the Gambia. I think we're in the same time zone. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariam Job, and I'm from the Gambia. And thank you for having me here. Thank you for having me share my experiences and whatever expertise it is that I have with you. I'm very happy to be part of the Ghana Youth IGF. To address Keja's question, I think one thing I've noticed from working in the internet governance space over these few years is that our problems are very, very similar, especially in the African region and in the West African region, to be precise. And so what happened is that where we were in 2020 is not where we are in 2023. And in the previous panel that was held for this one, there were conversations around AI. So what I did was I said, let me go on ChatGPT and ask it a question. And what happened was I asked the question that I'm about to speak on a panel, prepare me for the panel. And it gave me an insight about, give them greetings and say greetings to the audience, greetings to the panelists as well. It told me to express gratitude and give a brief explanation of the importance of digital literacy and advocacy. So that goes a long way in telling you that where we were in 3 years ago is not where we were now. And it's very crucial to the part where technology is growing at a very, very rapid state right now. And I feel like what's happening within the African society is that the rate at which technology is growing is not the rate at which the citizens are growing with it. So digital literacy is not just about it being online anymore. Even if you're going for a job, to apply for a job, they might even ask you, what digital skills do you have? How will you be able to, when you're using computers and whatnot, will you be able to safeguard yourself from hacks? Will you be able to not put the company's files and information at the risk of being hacked by cyber attacks? And so it goes a long way. It's a very multifaceted issue that we face. So what exactly is digital literacy? I like to define it as the ability to access, understand, evaluate, and utilize digital information and digital tools effectively, but also responsibly. So we're always talking about, do we provide people with the digital tools and digital information, but are they using it responsibly? Do they know how to use it, how not to use it, how to protect themselves and all of that? And so amidst the advancements, we faced a lot of challenges in this. And I think Eunice mentioned a lot of them. I think one of the most significant challenges that we face, not just in Ghana, not just in Nigeria, not just in Sierra Leone, but also in the Gambia, is limited access to technology. Like I said, our problems are very similar. And our remote areas and marginalized communities are more often than not neglected. And what this does, it creates a digital divide that just does not make the digital advancement within a country progress at a balanced and rapid state. But the truth is that we need to ensure that there's equal access of digital resources and tools for all individuals, regardless of their geographical locations or their socioeconomic background, for instance. So I know that in the Gambia, this issue was mentioned a lot, and it is something that we face. And we're always advocating for internet access. We need to have internet access in rural areas as well. We need to make sure that even the internet in our urban areas are good. There's good connectivity. And so, like I said, it's a multifaceted issue. that involves multiple stakeholders, not just the digital citizens, not just the people who are not yet connected to the internet, not just the civil society, or it involves private sectors, it involves government and policymakers. In the Gambia, we recently have a national broadband network project that was introduced to expand internet connectivity to underserved communities. Like, I know that personally, when I go to certain regions in the country where my campus is, it's very far off the main rural area. So when you get there, sometimes you have very, very bad internet connection. And that is in 2023. So we still suffer from these things. And that's why we have the National Broadband Network project that's been introduced to expand connectivity to these areas. And I've also learned that there's a mobile learning project that aims to provide digital access to schools in remote areas in Ghana, which I think those are some of the opportunities that exist for addressing the challenges with digital literacy and bridging the digital divide. Additionally, I would just like to add something that one thing is that we have to be proactive in educating people about digital skills, digital literacy, and digital tools. But what I always say that every day you learn something new. During our Gambia Youth IGF, during our session, there was I learned something that we're always advocating for internet accessibility, internet affordability, because you need to be able to afford the internet in order to learn and make use of digital opportunities and digital tools. But once the awareness has been made, what next? People sometimes are very reluctant to actually grab these opportunities or want to learn about how to make use of the digital tools, how to advance their lifestyle because of the digital opportunities that exist. And there's that imbalance. You're aware, oh, there's a thing such as the internet. There's a thing where there's a thing such as digital opportunities and digital tools. But are you curious to learn about it? Are you curious to see how it can change your life? Are you curious to make the most of it? And so what we realized that in the Gambia, for instance, even when we do bring this to these rural and these remote communities, they're very hesitant to make the most of them. So it takes us a step back again, like, okay, we're bringing this to you, but now you're not sure about it. And that goes a long way as well in promoting digital literacy. We can't force them. They need to make themselves want to learn. They need to make themselves want to know how to use these things. They need to want it for themselves. And that's why mobile money is still a thing in Africa, that people still prefer to use cash because they just don't want to download. They don't trust that they can have their money in a simple device such as a mobile phone. So yes, I feel like there's a lot more to this. It's very multifaceted. Multiple stakeholders need to be involved collectively, but it is also the responsibility of citizens to want to make best use of digital tools and digital opportunities.
All right, thank you very much, Mariam, for that expansive analysis. Thank you very much. So participants here, please, the floor is yours. We want you to ask all the questions, and also our online participants, please drop in your questions in the chat box. I know Lily is online and Lindsay. So do we have questions, Lindsay? Not yet. So our online participants, you can drop your questions in the chat box. And also, if you have a question here, I can see one hand here. If you can have the mic for, okay, another guy here. Any lady in here? All right, another one there. Yeah. So if we just take the questions and we run up the conversation. Yes, please, you can proceed if you have your question.
So non-governmental organizations, like big non-governmental organizations working to help this proceed, like huge non-governmental organizations.
All right, thank you. Your questions were noted. Let's go to the next question. We have 3 questions, then we go to our panelists to provide answers, then we run up the conversation.
Good afternoon. My name is Lukman Ansar from University of Professional Studies, Accra. My first question is, okay, the only question. My question is, what are these organizations doing to probably send a message to uneducated parents, or let's say grandparents, who limit the access of digital devices for our wards, and also they try to serve them with a message that it will demoralize their life, and they will try to they try to focus on the disadvantages. Rather, there are vast advantages that you'll be exposed to when you get access to these devices. So what messages are these organizations or these reputable organizations sending to them to change the narrative? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last question, I think we have one here. Yeah, I have a question online, so we'll take that question too. So let's take the one here, then we go to the online question.
Thank you very much. Please, my question is, digital literacy, how do we get the youth to be interested in digital literacy? Because I've had a few friends in the university, at the university, they've heard about digital literacy, and when you talk to them, they'll be like, ICT, I'm not interested in anything that relates to ICT. So getting to their age and where they are now, they've heard it over and over. So how do we get them to be very interested that there's a disadvantage when they ignore it? Thank you.
Okay, so let's pick one last question, then we go to our online. Hold on real quick.
Yes, I want to ask, what platform is this organization setting for people interested in learning, a training platform for people who want to acquire this knowledge?
Okay, so let's pick the question online. Let's pick the question online. There's another question. Oh, I think we need to hold on. Then we count on our next batch of questions. So please pick the line.
Hi, okay, great. So there's an online question from Twitter, and it says that, hello everyone, coming from a media background, I'd like to know what IGF is doing to help journalists serve the internet for stories that are fact-checked in order to stop the disinformation from most social media handles.
All right, thank you very much. So I'll move to our panelists. So I'll go over the questions. The first question was, big NGOs, what are they doing in terms of digital literacy? I don't know if Mariam can take this very short, 30 seconds. Then Mariam, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so the question
Please repeat the question.
Yeah, what are big organized NGOs? What are they doing in terms of digital literacy? What are they doing? That's what someone wants to know.
Keisha, can you hear me?
Hello, am I audible? Hello? It seems we are having technicality with online, so I don't know if Joshua can take the question.
Yeah, sure, I can.
I think we can hear you. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so I think Mariam is having challenges. So I'll come to you, Eunice. So Joshua, you take this.
Yeah, sure. There are lots of opportunities. For example, Mozilla, the Mozilla Foundation has a lot of training opportunities for young people. You have the MasterCard Foundation that is also training people. They have an agenda for the next 30 years, I believe, or up to 2030. And that agenda is to get about 3 million Africans into very sustainable ways. And if I'm saying sustainable ways, 1, you are trained in the relevant skills. 2, there are job opportunities for you. And 3, you are prepared to take on those job opportunities and excel. So it is up to you, like the previous panelist said, to be hungry enough. And of course, I know Information is something. If you're in a certain bubble, you do not know what is going on outside that bubble. So for most of you, this forum might have been that bubble buster, right? But it doesn't end here. If you go, Google is your friend. And this is a thing I learned when I started going for conferences and trainings in order to start my business, right? Everything you ask, they'll tell you Google is your friend. And I've come to believe that. Google anything. And the funny thing is that put 100 people in a room, right? Let everybody be asking questions. And you just be Googling those questions. You end up just that day, you'd become the resource person. Everybody will be coming to you as if you have years of knowledge. And that is what one of the panelists said, right? He used ChatGPT just that morning. Of course, he has the experience. So when he was talking, it didn't seem as if he had just copied from ChatGPT because he was adding experience to it. And so that is what training and research and how to study gives you an edge. And with the power of a digital tool, you become the smartest person in the room. So, and look, you have smartphones here. And I know some people, immediately I say some of the things, they'll start Googling. That is what I do in conferences. Because information is really, really difficult to come about. You go to an information and there are certain key policies you've never heard of. Once the panelists have started mentioning them, consolidated policy of Ghana, Google it. Because if you Google the Ghana medium-term policy plan, you will not get it. And that is how come people sit on TV and radio and say Ghana has no long-term plan. But Ghana does. So the person is talking and says consolidated economic policies of Ghana. Google it and it will take you straight to the NDPC website and you will see the files there, plenty. And so that is how these things help. And that is how organizations are leveraging on it. In terms of, I think there was one other question that talked about, go over again.
The cultural nuances.
Yes.
How we can educate our
Yes.
parents.
Yes.
No, yeah.
So let me tell you this funny story. When WhatsApp became a thing, I remember we were at a Bible studies and then my uncle, you know, I come from a very conservative family. My uncle commented that there's this new thing called WhatsApp and the children are using it and are getting into troubles and they are watching violence videos and pornography and all these things. But a good thing that the conductor of that meeting did was he was well informed enough and said, yes, it's true. But then assuming that there is disaster, we can mobilize on the same platform and call our brothers and sisters and verify if they are okay, right? So it is up to us. Now that you have come here, show your parents the positive sides, right? If all you do, or if all they see you do is Snapchat, we are out of here, what do you think? What do you think they will say? Right? What do you think they will say? They need to begin to see you transform yourself. They need to begin to see you give them certain advices about how they do things at home, certain financial advices. That is when they begin to believe, because that's what I did, right? That is what I did. And they saw the transformation. And today, my mom will be like, so that application you told me you applied for, have you checked if the email has come? Right? From someone who was very, very afraid that I was going into the world full of internet porn. And, you know, now she's one of my biggest supporters. So transform your life. Let digital technology transform your life. And you would have transformed their perception.
Thank you very much, Joshua. I would like to pick one last question from our audience, but before that, I'll move to Eunice. And just 30 seconds, Eunice, 30 seconds. I want you to particularly talk about how we can get the youth involved and also the cultural nuances when it comes to hesitancy, when parents in general become sort of bulwark towards all these things. Please, if you can just explain or give us a brief snapshot of all this.
Right. Thank you, Keja. I think the first and most important thing is to promote the benefits of digital skills. We need to highlight the benefits, the opportunities that digital skills can bring, the career prospects, the entrepreneurship, creativity, all the problem solving skills, show vivid examples of successful individuals who have leveraged digital skills to achieve their goals. Another thing is also we can do a lot of peer learning collaborations. One of the participants was talking about, talking with his friends and they not showing interest. It's about a matter of, leveraging your friendship with them and trying to get them to understand that, look, let's collaborate and use these digital tools. Because it may be something as low as using Google Docs, Google Documents. A lot of people still do not know how to use Google Documents, these basic things, so that when you're working in school and you're using Microsoft Word and you don't save and you lose your documents, at least you know that Google Documents is a cloud, something that you can save your documents automatically and come back to it. So all these things need to be there. And also with young people, we have diverse interests. We just need to find a way to look at the interest of people and see how we can incorporate digital skills into it. With our older generation who do not understand the era we are in today, it's like I said, it's also a matter of showing them the positive aspects of having these digital skills. And like my colleague and panelist said, show them the positive side. If you're always on your phone doing Snapchat and Instagram and all those things, they will never understand because they are not from this generation. But if you show them that, oh, I can, do something, I can create something with these digital skills, coding, all these things are things you can leverage on. And so, yeah, but I also wanted to talk about the agencies that work on one participant was asking about organizations and what they are working. There are several organizations that are working, to promote digital skills. And they mentioned MasterCard Foundation. UNESCO is one organization that is highly interested in digital skills. Most of these tech organizations, Apple, Microsoft, they all one way or the other fund smaller NGOs in developing countries to promote digital skills. So this is a little I can add to the questions that were asked. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eunice, for the answers. Time is our biggest enemy here. We have to move to our next session, intergenerational conversation, and it's sort of dovetailed into that. So save all your questions, and that's going to be a friendly question. Before that, I'll ask my panelists to just give us 30 seconds. Please, let's stick to time. 30 seconds on their final words. So, Mariam, are you audible now?
Yes, I believe I am.
Oh, Banjo is
I?
Yes.
I have a friend who always says that every time he has to get on a call with me, there's always something wrong with my internet. And this is the thing that we're discussing here. But yes, to keep it to 30 seconds that you mentioned, I think overall it's very crucial that we not only strive for digital literacy and advocate for it and help people in the ways that we can, either by from communications and just sharing about the positive impact that it has had in our lives, but we also need to embrace digital responsibility because, having access to information and technology and the digital tools, it also comes with the responsibility of using it ethically and responsibly, because there's the risk of being unsafe online. And what we're trying to ensure is that we have a secure digital citizenship. We should also be mindful of our impact of our actions and what impact we can have on others, and be cautious of sharing information. One of the questions came around sharing information, that sometimes there's a lot of misinformation. And that's also part of digital responsibility. If you're using it ethically and responsibly, you'll be cautious of what information you're sharing. Is it a fact? Do you know it for sure that this is actually very true? It all helps with playing our individual roles. Like I said, it's a collective responsibility. And before there is a community, before there is an institution, before there's a government institution, we are all individuals, and it must start from an individual level. So let's foster digital responsibility to create a safer and more inclusive digital space that empowers individuals and communities at large.
Thank you very much, Mariam. And Eunice, your final words, 30 seconds.
My final words. So I would just want to encourage every young person to take digital literacy very seriously. it's not just a matter of just making calls, sending texts, and being on social media, but also take a step further and learn more about different softwares, the basic softwares, how to use them effectively, and how to promote its use and encourage everyone around you who is not interested in digital literacy. We are moving into a technological world where AIs are becoming our friends, and everything is on Google, YouTube, all these tools. We just need to take advantage of it and make our lives easier. So I would encourage us as young people to develop our digital skills and take advantage of opportunities that are presented to us any day, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll run up the conversation with Joshua. Joshua, briefly.
Thank you. One, be hungry. Two, be curious. I don't keep Excel formats in my head. What I do is, how do you calculate this? Or how do you, arrive at a pie chart of this, Then I go to a YouTube video and it does that for me. So be curious, ask. And then the third thing is, see me after the session or after the program. I'll introduce you to the Ghana School on Internet Governance. 2024 will be coming next year. 2023 just finished about a week ago. And then we'll prepare you towards that school. And that was the school that launched me in my internet governance career. I just started 2 years ago. And today I'm speaking on stage, right? That can be you.
Thank you very much. There are also a number of opportunities as our plenary session they spoke on. So let's all, as youth, be encouraged, be motivated, let's be driven, and we can build a resilient future, digital future. All too soon, we have come to another insightful session, and we move to our next session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much to our speakers for inspiring us and then encouraging us to participate in the digital ecosystem. So for our next panel discussion, we are going to talk about Internet for Social Good. It's an intergenerational panel, and our moderator is still Keja Osei. And for our speakers, we have Engineer Fred Aban, who is the Director of ICT for the Youth Employment Agency. Please let's give him a round of applause. And then the next speaker is Mr. Eric Akomia, who is the lead consultant for AIB Consulting. Please let's give him a round of applause. And then we have Ernestina Lamioko, who is the chair for the Women and Youth Committee of the Internet Society Ghana. Please let's give her a round of applause as she joins us. And then last but not the least, we have Shadrach Ankara, who is also chair for Emergency Telecommunications for the Internet Society Ghana. Okay, so our moderator is Theo Rose.
Hello. Great, thank you so much. So I'm just going to release Keja off a little to can have snack whilst I drive the conversation. And much as we've had or heard a lot of things, one of the major things that we are going to discuss today is to see how the internet can be used for good. So there have been a lot of discussions about the bad aspect of internet, reason why parents, some parents would not want their children to be on the internet because of what they've heard about the bad parts. So this time around, I want us to focus on the good, because I personally strongly believe that the internet can be used for good. At least, I mean, we keep having discussions around COVID, and we keep saying that through COVID, we've been able to virtually know that we can work from home. Prior to that, we don't. Education has been easier. Now we don't necessarily have to be in the classroom. You don't have to pay, you can take online courses. So I'm sure there's going to be more. So my first round of questions, which I'll start with Mr. Kubia, followed by Engineer Fair, Ernestina and Shadrach. So we go in that direction, but it's just one question. How can the internet be used for good?
Thank you. Well, I believe that the original purpose of the internet was for good, in the sense that, you know, the internet was created to meet a certain situation. And if you've gone back into the history of the internet, it was because there was a challenge. And of course, some people or researchers in institutions put the internet together. Generally, a lot of the things we use the internet for is for good. But let me just give you a little historic perspective of how the internet came to Ghana and some of the things that it helped us to do for society as well as the people of Ghana. In 1995, I was working with a team that is Professor Nikwenu and a team that first started commercial internet in Ghana. Now, way back then, you can just imagine Ghana without internet. And it was such a difficult thing to get information to do anything. But we were then introducing what I would say computing, that is PC kind of computing, because those days the computers were huge, you know, and I happened to even work with, you know, a mainframe system where you had a dump terminal and you connect to the mainframe and it gives you time slices. So you have 10 people working, so you work in tens, you understand? And so it was difficult to get a lot of information. So what we did when we introduced the internet was to be able to solve some of the problems that existed then. And what am I talking about? In those days, we were actually providing big machines for some of the big companies like VRA and other things. And anytime there was a driver or something that got bad, the whole institution has to come down. And it will take like 3 weeks, you have to order, and then before the part comes in, you do it. But the first benefit that we got from the internet was that immediately the internet came on board, we had our partners put the drivers online. So the first benefit that we got was that we could just download the thing and fix the problem. So the time that we had to wait to get all these things done took off. Now, when we talk about, you know, benefit for society, good, we're talking about social, you know, benefits, which has to do with political as well as cultural and other benefits. And of course, when we look at it from the perspective that everybody benefits from it, what exactly are we talking about? We are looking at some development that is going on that can help everybody be able to have some good benefits from the internet. So in order to just give this initial introduction, I'll say that a lot of the things that are happening now is for benefit. I mean, let's look at some of the applications that have come up. Once upon a time, there was nothing like MTN, you know, Momo. And if you had to send something to somebody in the village, you know, it's going to take you forever. Somebody has to take a car or something and go there. So, I mean, I think later on we'll talk more. This is just my introductory Peace.
Our father here just gave us a history that most of you you were not born by then, I believe. I was there. And then he said there was a company like MTN. There was a company then called Africa. And Africa Online was one of the ISPs at the time. Around the 95, I had just returned home and I had jumped into this IT kind of things and I was playing around the internet. Then we just had one, the company was in Prof's company. Yes, NCS, yes. And I remember the story very well. Now, how has the internet helped us, the older generation, and the newer generation? So the older generation come with experiences that the newer generations do not have. Now, if we pay attention and then listen to what the older generation did, I believe the newer generation, you can do a zillion times what the older generation did. Reason, what is available to us, the older generation never had. The internet as it is right now, the older generation never had it. Then, if you had to install, say, Windows, now you buy a laptop and it's got Windows on it, right? Then you needed about 24 or so diskettes. And then you put diskette 1 in, it will install at a certain point, pull it out, put 2, continue up to around the 24. Now just imagine, you get to 18, and the 18 diskette is corrupted or faulty. It means you are done. You cannot continue. Sometimes you have to leave whatever you are doing, travel from friend to friend to friend to look for a diskette 18 to make a copy of that before you can continue with your installation. Now, you just hit a button and then you got it downloaded and then you can our father and his generation had to start something for some of us to come and benefit from, and we also added for you to just get the very best of all worlds. The internet, for me, and to me, is the biggest library that you have. The internet is the biggest university, the biggest college, the biggest school that you have. The internet also is the biggest landfill site where you have the worst of garbages. Now, do you concentrate your time, and your time is the biggest resource you have, on the garbages on the internet, or you concentrate your time on the beautiful things on the internet, things that can improve your life? Someone asked a question earlier on. He said, how do we influence our friends who are not interested in things related to the internet? This is what you should tell your friend, that he will finish university and he'll be unemployed. Tell him that. The reason is this: the university is just to open your mind. Now, a lot of the things we learn at the university, when you get out of the university, you have to unlearn them and relearn new things. Today, jobs are themselves all around the world. You don't need to travel elsewhere to work for a company that's outside Ghana, but you need certain skills to work for those organizations. And so if you box yourself in the 4 walls of Ghana, then you get out of university and you join that long queue out there. But if you empower yourself with knowledge that's available online, lots of knowledge, you get out of university, maybe you did geography, or I don't know which are some of the courses that are out there. Just imagine any course, okay? You can come out of the university and do something else altogether, because whilst you are at school, you are empowering yourself, learning something else in addition to whatever the university is giving you. I said the university is just mind for you to appreciate problems and be able to solve problems. So there are open source materials online. Harvard has got a lot of resources. You don't need to travel to where Harvard is. You can have a Harvard degree here in Ghana without actually having the degree. The knowledge that those who go there to study can have them over here. So applies to so many other institutions. So use the internet to empower yourself. Use the internet to make yourself better. And don't go, like our big brother said earlier on, stop wasting your time with all the unnecessary things on the internet. And that is my first advice to you all.
So now we heard from the older generation. We are just going to move in. Hello. Yes. So remember, this session is more of an intergenerational discussion. Some of the submissions made are older than you. I mean, let's just be honest about that. It's older than me. So I'm actually enthused about what was happening. Because, I mean, I think that computer, I don't know how to explain it, but the things I met when I was born, I thought that was all. I didn't know that it was more difficult then, and it's now. I'm actually more curious to hear that, and I'm just going to pass the microphone on to my generation mate and to see if they think different than I was thinking, or that it's the same thing. So, lady first, and then Shadi, you take the last shot.
Okay, so I'm also going to speak for the millennials. So back then, we, just like she said, thought we'd seen it all, not knowing there were harder times before our time. And then now, probably you may also think your time is difficult, but then know that we also went through another tough time. Because during my time, I came to meet the encyclopedia and then the library. That was my only source of information. So anytime I had an assignment that demanded research, and also the traditional media, which is the television, we had just two stations, TV3 and GTV. So if you are not catching these stations or you don't have a TV in your home, then that's it for you there. Most of the assignments came from politics to the others. But then if you needed to research, you would have to take your time, go to the library, go search for a book that is in relation to whatever topic or assignment you've been given. Now, if you are I came from Koforidua. So for example, I go to the regional library and then the information I need is in a book sitting in Accra. How do I even know the book is in Accra? And as young as I am I going to travel all the way from Koforidua to Accra just to get that information? So we have come to appreciate the internet because we've been through something and then we see things easier now. And I feel probably most of us are not appreciating the internet now because we've had it on a silver platter. Yes, and it's sort of like a human nature. When something is offered to you easily, you don't really know the use of it. You don't really value it, yes. So I would encourage you that, yes, the internet came for us for the good, but then it's up to you to use it for good or for bad or for worse. Because in everything technology related, the user is the weakling. So I would put information out there, but then if you decide to put a negative information out there for people to consume, that means you are being a bad person on the internet. But then if you're also striving and, partnering with the good people, fact check your information, fact check your facts before putting it out there, then you're actually helping other people to gain good information. So your integrity as a user is very important. Make sure you are using it properly. Make sure you are carrying good information out there. Before you get good information, you might think it's too much of a thing to do research. But trust me, like I gave you the example earlier, I would have to travel from one region to another region to see if probably there's a book there that contains the information I needed. Yes, back then, the information was solid and nobody can bring out any bad information as it is online today. But then if you are sitting in the comfort of your room or in the comfort of your study halls, and you are able to go online and spend probably an hour just to gain credible information on a topic, I feel it's good. Yeah, you are being offered something on a silver platter and have to take good notes and good use of it. So the internet can be used for the good. Just use it wisely. That is all I can say.
Thank you so much. Shadrach.
Okay, so thank you, Chiros, for the opportunity to also add my latest story and then some of the real issues and then the opportunities that we've had using the internet. So growing back then, I was in a family, I'm still in a family where we don't have the resources to buy a phone, a computer, and the rest. So I primary JHS, I wasn't having a phone till I think Form 3, JHS Form 3, I had this feature phone, I could send SMS, and then after SHS, I had completed it, I think somewhere 2014, I was able to have this feature WhatsApp. During that time, WhatsApp was used on this Nokia 106 or something. Yeah, that was the time I used WhatsApp. Yeah, and if I had that phone before Wasi, I could have gotten better grade because people were having this phone. They could share like tips and the rest on WhatsApp. But then some guy was having this phone, so you could share like this question coming. So we quickly go and then find some little phobia. Yeah, so through WhatsApp. Yeah, so through WhatsApp, could have information. So it helped a bit during that time. So after SHS, that's when I enrolled in the information technology course. If not to be that course, yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I already had the opportunity of meeting the people that I know of because I didn't have any family member who could afford to pay, like buy me a computer and the rest. So through the interest that I had in the internet and technology, I quickly enrolled in the information technology course, and with the help of one tutor who introduced me to the Internet Society, I was able to, meet a lot of people through some of the courses that I enrolled in. And then I've done a lot in the community, like, Linus courses where I had the opportunity to do some hackathon with Linus staffs. And then it has been a great eye-opener. If not to be the internet, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to attend university because back then I had to work and at the same time school. Because there was the option of distance learning, I could learn online whilst at the same time working to pay for my fees. So I think the internet helped me to achieve my career, and then there has been a lot of benefits. So with this, I will just end, and then in the subsequent questions, I will touch more on the rural aspect where I schooled, the SHS school I had in the rural area. That's when I'm going to do more in the rural aspects. We don't have the opportunity, so I'll do more in that. Thank you.
Okay, so to add a little on for you to appreciate where we are coming from, where we are now. Back then, information was quite stuck in a group. So for instance, in my family, if they have information from years ago, then they keep passing it on and then it stays with me because probably I might be selfish and wouldn't want anybody to have that knowledge. So everybody will look up to me and see that I'm the brightest amongst them. So information gets stuck with me. I don't give my notes out. I don't give textbooks out. Sometimes even your parents would warn you because if the books go out, probably people would mishandle it and then you lose that information. So that was how information was back in the days. It's stuck in a family, it's stuck in a group. You don't get it outside like we do now, where everybody decides to share their knowledge on the internet. So this is where we've come from and this is where we are now.
I mean, it's actually interesting how the discussion is panning around because once I was thinking that they would appreciate it more that, I mean, in the 1995 age going, it was better. You realize that they're actually sharing problems that they are facing. And I'm sure that those born in the 2000s will definitely even say that, oh, we have so much challenges. And I can imagine those born in 2023, 5 years or 10 years down the lane, when we meet here again, they will be sharing it. So it's kind of an eye-opener about how each generation comes with its own issues and development. But the next set of questions I'm going to ask that will pass through all again is that new technologies has come. Now, for example, most parents don't really understand why their child will buy data buy phone, tripod, walk around and be doing TikTok videos. Like, you are mad in quotes. Then the child will also say, but mom, you don't understand. Like, that's the new issue. You know, everybody has to be on TikTok and we do it this way. So now my conversation is, it's clear. Like, the two generations are not ready to let go of what they believe in. But what is the middle ground? Are the older generations ready to adapt and to understand what the new generation want to? Then are the new generation also ready to kind of moderate or minimize what they see now as new tech and new development? I hope you get the interview. So I want to know, are the older generation ready to improve in quotes or to accept change and to be on TikTok and use it for good, not dancing and all of that, but using it for good? And are the younger generation ready to learn the old skill? There is internet, but you can also learn the skill of going to the library and the older version of installing all those things. So whilst they answer that, I hope those online could also join us with their questions and contributions, experiences, and all that they have learned. So again, I'll start with Engineer Fred to Mr. Kumia, then Ernestina and Shadrach.
We have a father here, so he started.
Okay, so we'll start with the father.
Well, the question is, generation is they say born before computer, right? They are very, they don't want to go to try to learn. And I recall in the mid-90s, when PCs began to come, they were very expensive. And when you go into an office, the boss had a PC and it was covered. You understand? And any attempt to get close to it is, look, it can pay your whole years. Don't go near it. So it put some kind of fear in people. So they thought computers are, this kind of things. But I think things have changed from those days up to now. Everything is now on, phones and other things. A lot of people are adapting and changing these ways. But the important thing for all the generation, the past generation, is that you cannot say you don't want to go along, because the future is internet. If you don't want to educate yourself and try to go along with that, it's going to be a problem. But of course, a lot of people are beginning. I think the story that you told us, the previous, about how her mom now has become the big thing. A lot of things are myths that have been held by people of the past. And of course, as things begin to go and people begin to give them some kind of education, you see that a lot of these old people will change that perspective and join the flow. And I believe that that is the positive aspect of it. A lot of people will understand that if you don't get there, then you're out. Either you are in or you cannot be in the future. Thank you.
Father spoke about myth. Let me just tell you a story, personal one, two short ones. So the first one, around the 91, I began learning how to code. I was just entering secondary school, or I had just entered secondary school. And I was also a member of SU. You know SU, right? Good. So we had this SU leader who heard that I was taking extra classes, which my father was paying for me to learn how to program. And then he just told me, computers are for the Antichrist. Stop everything you have doing with computers. And my father was paying and I was not going for the classes. So that's myth over there. It took me about 3 years to know that after I really left secondary school, to know that I had wasted those years. Then I went back. Now, the other side, the older generation. So fast forward, my world and everything evolves around computers. And then I had to teach my mother, who was then in her mid-50s, how to use a computer. My mother is now in her mid-70s. And so I taught her some basic things, and she needed it to help us work because we had a family business. Now, this wonderful lady learned one thing which I didn't teach her. There's a game that is almost every Windows computer. Is it Solitaire or something like that? So she learned how to play it on her own. And she beat the computer. And everything I taught her, she doesn't remember. The only thing she remembers up to now, and she still beats the computer, and every evening she sits behind to beat her computer. Now, at least she's found something to entertain herself at 70-something. If we look for a way of teaching our parents, the older generation, the new things, and we teach them very well, they will buy into it, and they will understand the generation in which you and I are right now. I have a saying that there's nothing like a bad student. There's always a bad teacher. There's nothing like a bad student. There will always a bad teacher. So if you are the teacher who is teaching the older generation, how do you teach them to buy into the technology that is in our hand, the power that we have right now? If you explain it to them very well, if you have the patience to let them know that these three dots here means this, and when you go there, this is what you get, without using big terminology, then they will buy into it, and then they will be able to learn from us. Then AI, the thing of the time. Whoever tells you that AI is going to take over from us 100% has not spoken the very truth to you. It's actually coming to help us, to make us much, much better. When we're moving from one generation to in terms of industrial evolutions, and when we're bringing mechanization into the system, people fought against it. When our father and his generation were bringing internet to Ghana, definitely people would fight against them. Those who were using, and when computers were coming in, those who were doing typewriting, Registrar General's department, they were fighting against the introduction of computers. But today, one document that they had to type 200 times, you type once and hit print and put 200 over there, and you get 200 copies. And you don't have 200 times. AI is coming to make life better for us. It is here right now. There's a site, I think it's called, there's an AI for that. There is an AI for that, something like that. Almost every AI that's available right now, it's over there. You can check AI for doing different things. There's an AI for that. Something like that. Yeah, so check it. Almost every AI you have, and it runs into several thousands, or around 4,000 something, different AIs, doing different things. You found it, right? Somebody's found it, yeah. So go there. You have AI helping you to do different things. The last time I wanted to rearrange my office. So I told my secretary, we need to restructure here. And then we were studying this a whole lot of time. And then I remembered, there can be an AI for that. I said, and there was a tool. Which will just tell me, put this one here, put this here. I got a beautiful view. Wow. Yes. So there's an AI for that. It is just going to, and when you come in and the way we've arranged the place looks nice, you wouldn't attribute AI. So don't you think that it's come to take over your work? Not knowing it, not knowing how to use it, what is going to take your work away from you?
Okay, so to answer the question, I would say yes, there are some people from the previous generation who are open to learning and then embracing the internet and whatever comes with it. But then there are also the generation, like my dad's generation from the 30s, who feel that the world has come to an end for them, and so there's nothing more to learn. So no matter how hard you try to teach them, they wouldn't learn, because he bought himself an Android phone, decided to learn WhatsApp, was really enthused with it. I began teaching him. He started jotting down notes in a book. I was really like, it was really exciting and funny. Then I come back to Accra and I go back home and he tells me, oh, he's done with it. He's not going to use it again. I feel this is because he wasn't able to relate to it. But then if he could relate to it and he could do something interesting with it, he would have wanted to pursue more. Yes. My mom currently is using WhatsApp, and all she does is to forward videos to you. And then now it is my responsibility to teach her that not all the videos are true. Some are false news, and so don't be taking those in. And previously, when I was on WhatsApp and on YouTube, she would complain I'm wasting my time and I have to go and sit behind books and all that. But now, trust me, she's not even sleeping. She's always on YouTube trying to research for herbal medicines. So you see, the internet and the social media can be used for good things, depending on you. And then the old age can also embrace it if we are able to teach them something they can relate to. Because the internet is, should I say, like a mold of clay where you design whatever you want to design. So if I'm giving the internet to you and then I'm teaching you what to use it for and telling you you can use it to do, maybe make a cup, make a ceramic bowl, and you are interested in that, then definitely that is what you're going to be using it for. And then also the point I wanted to add, which has just skipped me, but it will come back. Yes.
Okay, so COVID is one thing that exposed the born before computer, the older generation, because among government institutions, you have people that have been there like for years, and some of them are not able to use computers. But during COVID, people were able to use Zoom and other teleconferencing platform to be able to do meeting and then do other work. So this is one aspect of technology that is able to change the older generation. They're able to adapt that, but there's also this myth or perception that people used to say, I don't like computer, it's too technical, and then there's a lot of mathematics involved. Yeah, so back then in school, I used YouTube a lot. I didn't really understand mathematics in JHS, but so in the university, I normally go to YouTube, and then based on the topic, I just search, and then I get to understand what I want. So the internet has really helped me in my education. And then compare this generation with the rural communities, there's a gap. Okay, so you have older people living in the rural community. You have young people living in the rural communities who don't have access to their devices and access to the internet. So here, the issue is who is going to help them have access to the device, who is going to need them to have the skills to be also learn or enjoy what we are all enjoying on the internet. Okay, so here comes to where I schooled. I didn't have like there was the ICT lab, but then you just go there maybe once a week, sometimes none. How do you? So I just took it upon myself to really do something, and from there I've been able to at least also educate some people on how to use the internet, the technologies, and be able to make some meaningful outcome from it. So the internet has been a great enabler, and with health, for example, rural communities have been able to have telemedicine where a doctor just teach people how to maybe go by a lifestyle that helps them to be able to keep fit. And because of the internet, all these things have been able to happen. So the internet has really helped the youth and even the older generations in the current state that we are in. Thank you.
Okay, so I've remembered what I wanted to say. So I believe that to bring all of us to a common point, the responsibility lies on us, the current generation, who understand what we are using the internet for. So what we need to do is to use it for good and then testify to the older generation what we've been able to use the internet for. Then they can now appreciate what the internet is supposed to be used for or can be used for. And they would love to hop on because it will drive their interest to find out more. So that is the little thing I can add to that.
Great, thank you so much. Now we are moving into the audience to hear your thought as well. I'm sure that it's been interesting and it's been thought-provoking for once. I thought it was only my mom that is so excited about sharing videos. And when you're doing a video call, you have to keep reminding you, put the camera down. No, you do it like this and all of that. So anyway, we are now open for questions. You have any questions, your thought, suggestion? Yes, I'll take one from you. Who else? Online, in person, 2, 3 at the back. Okay. So we are just going to help with the microphones. We will take all the 3 questions at a go. Then we answer and we take the next set of questions as well. So, no, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm very, very excited about this program. My name is Nick Bakopapo from ASIS Ghana, Africa Civil Society for Information Society. Now we are entering into the new partnership. In the olden days, we have Bracker White and TV, and now we have the fry screen and other thing. But I want to know, internet helps us a lot in a lot of our activities, our educational syllabus and all. We can use it to do a lot of research. But our young people, especially the persons with disability, we neglect them in the society, especially the hearing impairment, visual impairment, and the physically challenged. We need to build them. We need to build their capacity so that they can also achieve the impact in society. What are we doing? What are some of the tools and indicators we can use to empower them in the society? This question is for all the panels. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Wisdom. One other thing I would like to highlight for the youth to pay much more attention to is what they can do to assist the government. So it looks like we don't care. We just don't care about what goes on. If we are talking about AI now, then the youth have to begin to look into the various sectors. We have the agri sectors, we have the education, the extractive industry, and all that. There's a whole lot of a whole lot of money in those sectors that the youth can go into. Innovate something. Let me just give you an example. If you take the agri sector, for example, you have a farmer who lives in a rural community. He doesn't have any information about the farm. Let's say weather pattern, the seasons that we have. The farmer will just have to wait for the first rain to rain, then the farmer will know that, oh, so we are in the rainy season. So if you're able to sit down, think around this, and then innovate, come out with something, then you are also contributing toward the national, is it GDP they call it? The same applies to the health sector. Now, if you take a community, always they are getting sick. Nobody knows what is bringing that sickness. And then that is where your help comes in. You go in there, look for data, try and then sit down, build application and analyze the data and understand exactly what is causing the people to be getting sick in those rural community. Same also, you can get data and then come up with application to build something like a weather application app so that at every point in time, a farmer will know when exactly it's going to rain. So these are some of the things that we would like you to begin to think about. Now, AI is coming. So if you don't start from now, we'll be left behind. And then you will see ourselves struggling. And then you also be caught up in the net where I will say some of the older generation were caught up and they were not able to do things that they were supposed to do. So let's think now and then try to also work in teams. With that, I'm sure we'll be able to do something for ourselves and not depend on government fully. And then I'm just hoping Mr. Kumia will talk a little bit about open data so that you know exactly where to get some data to do what you want to do on your various campuses and all that. Thank you.
My name is Nana Kweku Oswald, and thinking from the millennium to us Gen Zers to our future, I was thinking that is the internet the way forward? Like, is the internet our future or it's supposed to be part of our future? And that's the question.
Answer all the questions.
Hi, my name is James Amati, and I do have, I don't know whether to call it a suggestion or a question, but then we have seen the internet blossom into what it is now from the 90s. And such innovation is not new because we've come from the very first industrial age to what we call Industry 4.0. Now, I am somebody who takes very close detail to experience, and that's what the older generation has. But unfortunately, most of them, have their knowledge in their heads, and it's very difficult for them to transfer that knowledge. I can speak very vastly from even the context of agriculture. Recently, I learned that there was an irrigation system that they use in desert areas where they dig holes and then the rain falls and then it fills those holes. But we don't know because those things have not been clearly documented. And I like that Mr. Wisdom spoke briefly about open data. Now, I'd like to know what the older generation are doing to pass on the knowledge they have, because I don't feel like that knowledge is totally useless. But then there's some things we can pick from there. So I want to know what the older generation are doing to transfer that knowledge. Because we've seen in the government sector, for example, where somebody retires after 40 years and then takes their knowledge with them without necessarily leaving a lot behind for the younger people to follow. And things have worked a certain way for a while because of certain things people know. So I'd like to know how that transfer of knowledge and information is going to take place between the older generation and the younger ones, and also how we can transfer such information to them. Thank you.
Okay, so that'll be all summary. Please make it short in 50 seconds so that they could answer.
Hi, great. Yes, so I have a question. There are some people that are in the older generation necessarily literate. What happens to them, especially because some of them would love to be part of or get to know more about the internet, but they are not literate enough. And so what do we do to them? How do we help them out?
Okay, so I'll just leave the panel open to any of them to take. The first question was on give up suggestions as well, and we hope that Mr. Kumia will talk about open data and how younger people can get data to work as well. Yes, so I think just spoken. And then James's question on how you can transfer your knowledge and oh yes. Yes, so I'm just going to, I just give a summary of all the 4 questions that have been asked, and I'll leave it open for the panel. The first discussion question was on how people with disability could be included in participation.
So let me just be a little selective. I'll pick his and hers, and then I'll leave the rest for. So PWDs, or persons with disability, a lot is going on in our space for PWDs. Just a few months ago, there's a lady professor at the University of Mines, Takwa, who organized a hackathon for PWDs. And come again? Yes, Dr. Millicent. And persons came up with innovations, technologies to support PWDs. And the outcome was just amazing. Now, it's you and I who must also help develop technologies that they can use. They also know what they actually need. And so if we can collaborate, we can solve their problems. There's a gentleman in my office who is virtually impaired, but he uses a phone. He's got a laptop. He types all his reports. He does presentations, and he can go from slide to slide, and he prepares everything himself, and he is 100% blind. So technology is available for PWDs, and they keep improving. So they have not been left out. And I believe as we progress, technology for PWDs will become much, much better. And then to our young lady, she's on the phone, so she's not even listening. So persons who are completely illiterate, how do we bring them on board? I believe the type of apps and technologies we develop moving on should be very simplified. And now you've got a 2-year-old baby who cannot read using a smartphone or a tablet. So if a 2-year-old who cannot read or speak can use such technologies, then I believe persons who have not had education can also use them, make them simpler as we move on, so that they can also appreciate technologies that are available to all of us.
Okay, so, all right, sure. So I'd like to talk about is the internet our future, or should it be part of our future? And then I'll talk about the documentation bit too, and then probably touch on hers as well. So the internet, I would say it should be both. It is the future and it should be part of our future, because looking at what we just shared here from our experiences from way back till date, you can see that as our lives evolved, the internet evolved with us. And so going forward, as our lives evolve as well, the internet is still going to evolve with us. And then you find out that the things you are being able to do easily now, in the next few years to come, they'll be even much more easier to do. So as you are living your life, expanding yourself and learning new things, add the internet to it, because it is the future and it's supposed to be part of your future as well, because you would be in it and you'll be using it. So broaden your knowledge and accept the internet. And then to talk about the documentation bit, I feel that the best way we can go about it, I still feel the responsibility is with our generation. The best way we can go about it for those who are not interested. So it's going to be like, I'm going to fuse yours and hers together. People who are illiterate and people who are literate but are also not interested in technology or the internet. We can go to them, get the knowledge from them, and then use them in building our apps. We can document them into researches, post them online. Wikipedia is doing a marvelous job when it comes to information that is credible. So you can put your researches that you've done online and then let people have access to it. So for a farmer who is a millennial or a farmer who is a Gen Z, who doesn't really know what people used to do in the 20s and in the 30s traditionally, if you have a grandmother or a grandfather with you who used to be a farmer, you could go close to them, ask them what they used to do, and then you can come up with a paper, a publication, or even if you are into app development, you can design an app to suit what people back then used to do. And trust me, not only are you just getting informed and doing something to help others, but you're also cashing out in the end. Because now people would, those probably if it was in the 20s, people now in the 40s and 50s would now come to appreciate the app because they can relate to it. Now people who are Gen Zs and millennials would also find this as wisdom they never had. And so they will also hop onto it. So now imagine all these generations hopping onto your idea. And if you are trying to monetize it, then you are cashing out big time.
Thank you.
So that is what I'll say. Get close to them, get the information, bring it out, and let's also benefit from it. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll pass this on to Mr. Kumia about open data, just shortly for us, please.
Okay, thank you. I think around 2012, we started a project, which is the Open Data Project. And that project was supposed to give us government data in an open format so that if you are a programmer and you want to, share some information or be able to show some specific aspects of government work or something that is required, like, extension work, you can just go in and pick that and write your application to fetch that data. And of course, if we have a stream of data coming from those places, then it becomes a real-time kind of application. So that project was done. I left the ministry at 2020, and the site is still up. Wisdom was one of the primary people who started this project in 2012. And thankfully, even in the 2018, 2019, he supported the team from NITA to complete a lot of these processes. It's now available at data.gov.gh. There's so much data sitting there, different aspects of government data that you can play around with, from rainfall patterns to, all the different sectors. When you come to agri, when you come to mining, when you come to electricity, all the different things are there in an open format. So you don't really CSV format. So you just write API to fetch the data and you can do all these things. And of course, once you add some kind of AI, you can get better interpretations and you can help society much better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there's a question online. So we are just going to switch to take that submission in 50 seconds. Online, please help us. You can unmute now and ask your questions. There's a hand up. And before that, there's also a question from online. Some of the participants, or one of the participants wants to know how you differentiate between misinformation and accurate information online. How do you do that? So you can deliberate on that, but if we are ready, we can take hand up. Yes.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm Emmanuel John and I'm a Ghana Sec Fellow and I'm in Siane. So my question is, before computers, people couldn't, we Ghanaians, we couldn't localize the technology to suit our values and then our custom. So everything that we are using is mainly imported from where they are doing it. But right now, we have a new wave, that's AI. How are we trying as much as possible to also design these technologies that reflect the Ghanaian or the African cultures and values that speak well of us? Because if we don't take care, we will depend on them, and then we have to import everything without making anything that will reflect our true identity. So how are we trying as much as possible to ensure that we also take advantage of AI and then design it to reflect the African values? Thank you.
Okay, so I think that is Kat's clear, sorry. Shadrach, I'll let you answer that. And then anyone on the panel could answer the submission on how to identify fake from accurate. And let's keep it under a minute each. Thank you.
Okay, so we all know that the computer and the internet all started from the Western world. That's the US. That's when the internet and it became commercial. We all started using it. So most of information, ideas, the tools all use, most of them are coming from them. And then to localize our own and tools to be this can having people on board to be able to example where people should be able read. But here is the case that we don't have these local languages on the internet. So sometimes it becomes difficult adapt or make internet for them to use. If you're able to localize, help people to have interest using the internet, and then we can move to other aspects of technology. So, for example, if to use an AI tool in tree, be able to really solve the AI. If not, I'm using developed from the web, able to understand it. And the AI is not able to understand me well. Then we have some issues. So we have to deal with local, and then we'll be able to develop other tools that fit into our local context. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, yes.
So for fact checking, there are credible news outlets. Internationally, you have CNN, you have BBC, you have Al Jazeera. Locally, you have your City Newsroom, you have your Daily Graphic, you have your Joy News. So if information is not coming from these outlets or the trusted outlets, then you need to hold on to whatever you've heard. Don't bring it out yet. Don't spread the news. Hold on. Make sure these outlets that are trusted, who have their integrity at heart, bring it out first, and then you can say for a fact that, okay, this is the news, and so I am going to transfer it on to another person. If it's not coming from a credible outlet or source, then it's fake news. Hold on before you proceed.
Great, thank you so much. And I guess that apart from that as well, there are online platforms that you can use to verify. So for images, you can use Google reverse image. For videos, you can use InVid. You can use the traditional way of verifying news, especially if it's local, by actually going there to check as well. So I think Google images are the easiest, because once you feed it into Google image, it will tell you the first time it ever appeared on the internet, and that should help. And I guess that some of the thing in quotes is just common knowledge. Some are too good to be true. So try as much as possible to not just grab anything, like click on this link to win $20,000. Kai, come on, you didn't work for that money. So try as much as possible to just stick with that. But this conversation has been great. I hope we can keep on going, but we have to end at a point. So we continue tomorrow as well. So a big thank you to Ernestina, to Engineer Frederick, to Mr. Kumia, and to Shadrach for making this discussion on intergenerational understanding of internet, digital divide, cooperation, inclusion as well. And thank you to those online as well. So we are ending it here. Thank you so much. My name is Theoros, and I'll just hand over to Vanessa to wrap up.
All right. So before we wrap up officially, we would like to have a brief talk by a rep from Blossom Academy in the person of Intiam. A brief talk on that. Please, let's give her a round of applause.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hi. Hello, everyone. So I'm from Blossom Academy. I'm Etiam Day. And I think it was a very interesting interaction that we had here. I remember Emmanuel Jan asking about localizing tech spaces. And I think that's where Blossom Academy comes in. So for Blossom Academy, we work with data. We used to work with data primarily. And then our boss, he realized that there was a lot of unemployed young people in the in Ghana or in Africa as a whole, and yet companies were importing data needs. So that's where we come in. We train young unemployed graduates in data analytics, data science, in digital marketing as well, and in artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning. And the funny thing or the wonderful thing about this is that it's totally free. The training is free. So if you know somebody who is unemployed, who is looking to upskill themselves, my contact details are up there. You can search for us, Blossom Academy. You can sign up for the training as well. And when we are done with the training, another thing we do is we help you to get an internship for 3 to 6 months. And that's where some of our people, reps, come in here. We pair our company, our fellows, our students, we call them fellows, we pair them with companies that are in the IT space. So some of you here, I would like to speak with you afterwards, where we help them intern for 3 to 6 months. So you can reach out to us. That's my contacts. We are Blossom Academy. You can look at our website, sign up if you know anybody who is looking to upskill to the next level in the digital space, in data analytics, data science, data engineering, and artificial intelligence. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. So all too soon, we've come to an end of both insightful and then an inspiring conversations, which is going to propel us for a resilient digital future. So I'll call Keja to give us the closing remarks.
Hi, everyone. I know you are tired, and it's been a very fruitful day. The conversation has been very, very insightful. I've been called to give a closing remark, and the first thing I asked Heroes was, Heroes, what am I going to say? But I can't thank you all enough. You've been exceptional throughout. I thank Labone Secondary School, GNDR, Internet Society, and everyone involved in making this whole forum a success. But most importantly, the conversation doesn't end here. We need to kickstart if it hasn't started. We need to advance if we have started a conversation. We need to finish if you are at the end of the finishing line. So it's a clarion call on all of us here to be involved. After here, I hope to see everyone here, the youth getting involved one way or the other. Let's build connections. Life is better in company. Let's go pilots. So I'll end here. I think after this, we are going to have our lunch. And if you have any questions, if you have any submission, recommendation, or anything, feel free to reach out to any of us and join on board the Ghana Youth IGF. Let's build a resilient digital future. Thank you once again.
All right, so all too soon we've come to an end of our session for today, and we are hopeful that we're going to see you all tomorrow as well to continue the conversation. My name is Vanessa Oche once again, and thank you for coming. Let's go have lunch.